My name is ShereenFuqua, and I own GumBits, which is chewing gum for horses. And you are Audrey
Anthony.
Anthony. And so I have been really crazed this year. I decided I was going to do weekly Zoom calls, and I've been traveling every single week with my daughter, going to horse shows, and I found out it was easier to interview people at the showgrounds.
Right.
And so I'm actually home for a week, but about to race out the door, and always playing catch up and trying to get caught up with my accounting. And in that process, a couple days ago, I started cleaning out all my emails, and I came across, and I want to pull it up because people won't believe we've never talked before. This is our first time, and I came across an email. Where's it on? My glasses on. Dated, here we go, June 10th, 2019.
Yeah.
Now, it's not like I don't return my calls or my emails. We did communicate via email back and forth. And at that time, you told me how much you liked the GumBits, and that you had a big training farm, and you were interested in doing some sponsorship.
Right.
And so we communicated back and forth. I dropped the ball because I was on the road. And then I think that's where we are today. Out of the blue, from June 2019, I sent you a note and said, hey, you got, I pulled up your website. I was like, oh my God, you have like the coolest farm. And I better call this girl and see if I can interview her for my GumBits Zoom chat. So that's how we got here. Yes. And I told you I would be very spontaneous, and already I'm impressed because I'm looking at you. I can never figure out where I should be looking, somewhere on the camera or something. I feel like I'm cross-eyed when I look, but I'm looking at you, and I'm looking at all these beautiful ribbons.
Yeah.
I'm like, oh, I guess she really is a horse girl. So you are in Ocala, and when you responded back to me in email, you said, sure, I would love to do a Zoom chat with you. And as a matter of fact, my world has exploded, is what you said. And so I'm going to shut up, and I want you to tell me who you are, how you got into horses, and where you are.
So I originally started with Arabians, which is all those kind of rosettes you see back there.
Okay.
So I kind of started with that, and I did that for a really long time, about 20 years. And
in Florida, did you grow up in Ocala?
No, I originally was born in Miami, and then we moved to Wellington just to kind of be in a more horse community. And we bought a small farm, and we rented it out to mostly dressage people. And we used that income to kind of keep the Arabians going. And so I kind of decided that Arabians weren't really working out. I came back home.
Well, I have a question. So sure. The Arabians, I mean, okay, first of all, they are beautiful. Like, they have the really beautiful faces. And actually, I learned how to ride on a Arabian, and so I love them. And I'm very excited that I have a huge Arabian following, because that is a very big industry.
Yeah.
But when you got into the Arabs, were you doing the Arabs in Miami, riding as a little girl? Did your mother ride, and did she ride the Arabs?
No, so actually my family came here from Cuba, and my grandfather had horses in Cuba, and that's where the name Bocoy comes from, which is Bocoy rum. And when I was younger. It just kind of so happened that he wanted me to kind of get in with the horses. I started riding in Miami with Alex Langaris, who was a Arab trainer down in Miami, and I also started with Sally Shaw, and they were both into Arabs. So that's kind of what I got into, and I rode Western Pleasure, Hunter Pleasure, Saddle Seat, Side Saddle. I mean, that was really the fun thing about the Arabian circuit, was I got to ride all these different disciplines and a bunch of different kind of horses. And I think as I got older and I was living in Wellington, I was driving back and forth to Ocala at the time, because all the Arab trainers from Miami moved up to Ocala.
Well, I was going to ask you, in Miami, I mean, you don't really think of Miami as a place where people ride horses, especially today. I mean,
right.
30 years ago, I did a lot of work in Miami I worked for the savings and loan and the debacle, and we were taking down banks left and right. And like Miami, I mean, you don't think of people riding horses in Miami. So when you do that, especially now, when you did that, where in Miami, were there little pockets of land, or where exactly?
Yeah, I was raised in Miami, being from an immigrant family from Cuba. That's where they kind of landed. And so the Redlands was kind of horse country in Miami, and it's just basically a little pocket of land that sits right outside of, kind of the main Miami Hialeah area.
Is that Hialeah? Is that a little bit northwest of the airport?
Yeah, so you basically would pass the airport, and then in like a little bit west of the airport and a little bit south of the airport would be where the Redlands were. So there was a big Pasofino and Arabian community, and like
I had no idea.
6 little rows of area. That was it.
Are they still there, or like you said, do they all kind of migrate up to Ocala?
I think there's still some Pasofinos down there, but I don't think, at least the bigger named Arab trainers that were down there have all moved up to Ocala. I think there's some smaller pockets around, but I think Miami's kind of pushed the horse community out. Mm-hmm. So
now so you left Miami and moved to Wellington because there's more horse showing there. What year was that? Do you remember?
I was in Miami.
You said you act like you're old, but I'm looking at you and you look very young and beautiful. I
was in Wellington about 18 years.
Okay.
So, and I've been in Ocala now for about 2.
Okay.
So it was a long time ago.
Okay. Well, you say a long time ago, but were you like in grade school when you moved to Wellington?
I was pretty much just out of high school.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, you aged beautifully. So, anyways, so 18 years in Wellington. So you can absolutely feel my pain because, well, that's about the first time I went through was about 20 years ago. And that was pre my daughter. But we've been going to Wellington every year for 10 years doing circuit in the hunters. Prior to that, it was dressage for me, but in the hunters. And so when you lived in Wellington, you saw a lot of growth, you saw a lot of change. Did you ever feel like it was like other non-horse people versus horse people, or what was it like to grow up in Wellington? I'm just kind of curious because we were always, we'd buzz in and buzz out, and I feel like some of the residential communities, like, if you rent a place or something, you're not allowed to drive a dually. It's kind of like, okay, what do you mean? Like, everybody drives a dually. So yeah. I'm kind of curious. We got off track. I'm just kind of curious what if there is kind of the horse versus non-horse people in Wellington, and then you're living right there. Did you show a lot?
So originally I didn't, because I was in Arabs, and really the closest Arab shows were either Tropical Park, which is in Miami, or Orlando. So I at that point we had just rented out our farm to actually Danielle Gallagher, who was a Canadian rider at the time, and she kind of had our farm, and then Yvonne Barteau rented our farm for a little while. And
dressage people primarily. Okay.
Yeah. And so they pretty much, paid for my Arabs, and I would just kind of go up to Ocala, where my farm, where, the horses had moved up to, and show there. But I do think that even though I wasn't really in the horse community there, just having a farm, I think back then the horses were a lot more accepted. I kind of felt the last probably 3 to 5 years, it got a little bit like, a little less horse friendly, even though the circuit was growing.
That's interesting. You would think it would be the other way around.
Yeah. No, I left there because I was kind of like, there's not really a great year-round life for the horses. The pastures are small. There's not a lot of grass.
It gets hot in the summer. Yeah. So hot.
Yeah. So I was like, I just kind of got, if I need to go to Wellington to show, I'll go to Wellington to show. But I kind of wanted to be somewhere that I could expand my breeding program, and that even my big competition horses can go out and stretch their legs and kind of eat some grass and be normal for a little while. And there wasn't a lot of normalcy.
No, Wellington is a little crazy. So you did, the really cool thing about the Arabs is that you can do so many different disciplines within the Arabs. So I love that. And I've been learning a lot about the Arabs, and I sponsored the Scottsdale Arab show. I think it was last year. And I really want to learn more and more. And, but I love that. And so you mentioned that you switched from and you did the Pasafinos. So you switched from the Arabs. Do you still do Arabs or not?
No, I got completely out of it. I had decided to not do the Arabs anymore, and I came back to Wellington, to my home, and I moved back into the house there. And that year we rented the farm to Jim Coford, and I was sitting, he must have been there a week or two, and I was sitting, he was riding this horse that was giving him some problems, and, he was like, you used to ride Arabians, you can do hot horses. And I was like, yeah. He was like, why don't you ride him? And I was like, I don't really do warm bloods. I had the same idea that Arab people kind of have with warm bloods. We're like, oh, they're slow,
That's so funny. That is so funny.
I was kind of like, oh, this is going to be boring. And I got on it, and Jim kind of helped me out. And I was like, oh, wow, this is a spicy horse. And he was like, oh, that's great. I don't have to show it. Why don't you show it? And I was like, well, how hard can that be? I've done Arabians. It's walk, track, canter around the arena and change direction. And so I went to the horse show that weekend, and Jim was like, well, okay, so this is what you're going to do. And I had never really done a half pass or anything. And he was like, well, you're going to show 4th level. And I was like,
oh my God, you're kidding. That's almost as bad as me making my daughter show the I2 on a horse that doesn't do the I2.
So I was like, oh, that doesn't sound too hard. 4th level, that can't be too bad.
That's funny.
So I kind of went through it, and I was like,
And you knew about the letters, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
I had done some Googling, and, he had helped me. I had some lessons with him, and, I ended up really falling in love with kind of, the intricacies of dressage, and, Jim kind of helped guide my passion a little bit. And so I kind of got into it, and then he helped me kind of find my string of horses, and he was there then at my farm for about 8 years. And that's kind of where I was, in Wellington when I decided to move up here. And we ran, I mean, the last season we were there, we had, 50 to 60 horses on the property.
Oh my God.
It was
Now your farm name that's the name you mentioned, right?
Bocoy, yes.
Okay. Is that with a B, a V?
Yes, a B.
A B, Bocoy. And what did you say it meant?
It was my great-grandfather's rum company and cattle company in Cuba.
Oh, that is so cool. Now, is your grandfather still around?
No, my grandfather died about 4 years ago, but he got to see Bocoy become Bocoy, and he didn't get to see us come to Ocala, but, he got to see, the farm in Wellington with the covered arena and, all the horses and it packed. And so, he got to see the name kind of be taken back for the family. And, it was a very emotional thing for him to see Bocoy out there because, the Cuban government, took Bocoy rum and they still own Bocoy rum till this day. So it's something I'm really proud of, and it will always be Bocoy as long as
I love that. I'm getting all teared up actually. And how did he escape or get out of Cuba? Because of course I don't know a lot, but we all know that Cuba was shut down for years from what, the Kennedy days, right?
Yeah, it was 40 or 57, I think, is when they came over. And I think my great grandfather kind of saw the revolution happening, and he told my grandfather to take, his children and his wife and leave. He decided to stay behind, and unfortunately he had to kind of watch everything be taken from him. And my family had to then kind of start from scratch again because they lived a very comfortable and wealthy life in Cuba, and when they came here they had nothing.
Start over, right?
Yeah.
That is an incredible story. And so it was your grandfather that came over with
my mother.
Your mother. Okay. That is really an incredible story all in itself. And so when he came over, what did he do? How did he remake the family? What was his business?
Well, lucky for him, my great-grandfather was very big on school, and so he did send him to Valley Forge for high school here in the States, so he spoke English. And then when he went back to Camagüey, he went to the University of Havana and got a CPA degree there. So when he came here, he was actually sweeping floors, and somebody helped him start doing the books. And then, from there, he went into the Department of Revenue, and he worked there for about 40 years in the Department of Revenue doing, audits and stuff.
It always comes back down to education. My father came over here from India for his education, and my mother was about education, and we all come from humble beginnings. So I love that story, and it's really very, very precious. Now, so that was your grandfather that had the accounting degree. So then your father was a little boy, and what did he do? Did he follow in his dad's footsteps and do accounting, or did he decide to do something different?
No, so that was my mother's father.
I'm sorry, that was your mother, not your father.
Yeah.
Your mother.
Yes. So my mother didn't go into the accounting. Being from a Hispanic family in the 50s and 60s and 70s, she got married young. And then she kind of found her own way in life and is a hustler, and she really, anything that would be put in front of her, she made into the best possible business. I mean, she when she married my biological father, he was, had a small medical practice, and she made it into a very large medical practice and a a fruitful one. You know, my biological father, he came here from Argentina during the revolution. So they both had similar immigration backgrounds. You know, my biological father, he spoke English very well, but he had a very heavy accent, and it was very important for him, for me to not have an accent and to get an education. So that was something he was really, you know, I think he saw growing, you know, kind of coming here, that, you know, it was very difficult for him to get far. So he wanted to make sure that I had kind of that setup. So I always kind of admired both of them, because they both were, they kind of, they made it happen.
You. They gave you passion.
Yes.
They gave you passion. And you rose above that and went to college, went to school.
Yeah, I went to the Florida International University for my undergrad, and then the University of Alabama for graduate school.
And then along the way, you followed your great-grandfather's passion with the horses. And so it kind of, and now here you have this big horse farm, which I didn't realize. I truly want people to believe that I literally just called you. I didn't even have time to Google you. And so you're talking about the breeding, and did you breed in Wellington, or did you go to Ocala and decide, hey, let's breed horses?
I bred a little bit in Wellington. I was lucky enough to acquire a mare from a gentleman in Denmark that was super extraordinary, and everybody wanted to buy her, and I was like, you know, there's something really special. And Jim kept telling me, he's like, this horse is a once in a lifetime horse. So I said, well, I'm going to make another one. So I decided to breed her, and my veterinarian, my reproduction veterinarian in Wellington, Dr. Erin Newkirk, she really took me under her wing and really helped me find the passion in breeding, because at that point it was just, I just want to breed my really nice mare. And she explained breeding and pedigrees and matching stallions and mares, and it became almost like a science project for me, where I became really passionate about finding the right mare for the right stallion. And I realized that it's not just two nice horses put together, that it has to be really pedigrees looked, personalities looked, performance looked at, all those things put together, and then you have the possibility of creating something better than the mare and the stallion. And so she really kind of geared me towards that. And then when I kind of came up here, she introduced me to Dr. Louis Cadena, who's our vet here now. And he also is really passionate about reproduction. So that's when we decided to open the reproduction center, with him kind of at the helm, helping me. I was still very kind of green at the statistics of reproduction. So he kind of helped me build what we've built here. And he continues every day to teach me and, you know, kind of help me grow and continue to grow for 3 to 5 years from now. And, you know, we hope that it just keeps expanding the way that it's expanded.
That is so impressive and intimidating. It truly is. And wow, I was just like blown away.
It's funny, it's always humbling to hear somebody say that, because I was always just the crazy Arab girl that rode the crazy horses because their parents didn't have money like all the other Arab kids did. So I just always rode these crazy horses, and that was a little bit me in the dressage too. It was always, oh, it rears, give it to Audrey. Oh, it bucks, give it to Audrey. So it's always really humbling for someone to just kind of be like, wow, because I was just the Spanish girl that, you know, that rode the crazy horses.
People don't understand, you know, successful people really come from having a fire and having a passion. And I really have worked very hard trying to find something that my daughter's passionate about. And I love that about you. And wow, I don't really I see myself more as a Wellington horse show person, but actually now that I met you, I need to come down there. I'll come down there for dressage. I know, now, do you know Robbie? Have you met Robbie?
I have not. I'm good friends with Vinny Card, who's the operations director there at WEC. And if it wasn't for him, we wouldn't have picked Ocala. We were actually headed to like Alabama or Texas. We were really gonna go out of the state, and we came and Vinny was like, "Where are you guys going? You guys are crazy. Come to Ocala." And WEC was still kind of under construction. He took us around and he was telling us what they were building here, and I was like, that kind of seems like a pipe dream. And he's like, "Oh, it's gonna happen." And I was like, "All right, well."
Well, you probably got in at a good time, because how much property did you end up buying?
We have about 80 acres here.
Wow, that's fantastic.
Yeah, so I can say that Vinny sold us on Ocala, and I'm glad he did.
Robbie tried to sell me on Ocala and tried to get me to buy a house in Ocala, but I'm thinking, wait a minute, you just bought a house in Wellington and you're telling me to buy a house in Ocala. But truly, Ocala is a very, very special place for horses, and it's going to continue to get really bigger and better. I see the hunters, I love the hunters and the jumpers. And I love going to Palm Beach and doing that. But for the dressage, having that, I have not been there yet, but I've seen all the photos. But the venue of having a calm, quiet place to really be, very focused. I'm hoping they do regional championships there next year, because we're here in Atlanta, which makes it nice, but the footing is not good. The area is not good. And so I see Ocala hopefully in the horizon for the dressage, and obviously a lot of things. But so do you do dressage now? Or do you just kind of, okay, you do.
Yes.
And are you showing a lot? Are you riding the young horses, or?
So I took about a year and a half off from showing while I was getting the reproduction center off the ground. And I'm hoping now that it's kind of on the ground, and the plan is to get back in the show ring around December or January and campaign a couple horses. And, my passion is still for the young horses and for the troubled horses. I think that's never going to leave me. There's something really satisfying about building and making your own horse, and to kind of be able to have a horse that's never trusted or has had really bad experiences come back around and kind of bond with you. I know in the business side of it, it's not a fruitful business. So I, when it comes to my breeding and our training center, we obviously just focus on high-end FEI horses and developing the best of the best. But I think my side projects and my passion will always be, having, these horses that are a little quirky and a little weird. And, I still have a bunch of them. And, I have one that will be with me his entire life, because I could never sell him, and I don't have an insurance policy that's good enough for that. So
no, I understand. It's like people. Whoops! It says time running out. We'll end in 10 minutes. Why? Oh my God! Hold on a second. Okay, well, we got 10 minutes. I got to pick my daughter up at school.
Okay.
We're probably going to have a part 2, because you're so very interesting to talk to. But I was going to say my farm manager likes to rescue horses and or ponies. And I like to keep my daughter's champion horses. I've been offered a lot of money for them. But it's like they work so hard, and they give you their heart and soul. And I just feel like, you know, we have to take care of them. And so I'm very happy that I still have, I say happy, he was paying my ass. But I have Mrs. Castleman's from Germany. I had her, my husband got me her Grand Prix dressage horse. I think it was before my daughter was born, and she just turned 15. And so he's 30, and I'm so proud to take care of him. He's either really behind the leg or really hot, but that horse could pee off like no other. Like, he could pee off so good that when you had to do the one tempies, you had to really push him out, because otherwise he could do them literally on the spot. And my daughter's like, oh, Mom, because she had to ride him too on a line, and he would buck her off. But he's still around, and he looks so great. I'm so proud to give him a nice life. And now my daughter has a retired pony that has asthma. We give her a nice life, and her first hunter, and it goes on. And so it is kind of like, how can you get rid of these animals that, you know, took care of you, and, you know, you take care of them. So I love that about you. And so since we don't have a lot of time, because I really do want to do a follow-up session at some point, how did you become aware of the GumBits? Did you use them for the young horses or the troubled horses?
So I got a horse from Jim that he had also, and the horse was pretty notoriously known for being nasty. And till this day, I'll say his name, and there'll be people like, oh, yeah, I remember that one. And he had some pretty bad experiences, and he used to gape at the mouth, and he would like obsessively chew. Like, we used to joke that he was going to chew through his bit, and like, he just, I mean, I can't even explain it. And he was a rearer, he was a bolter, he was a spinner, he would do anything to kind of get out of it. So I started giving him GumBits because I was like, geez, nothing else has worked. We have tried every trick in the book, I probably have the biggest bit collection in the United States, because I was convinced it was the bit, and it wasn't. So when I finally got him under control, I was gonna show him, and I was like, well, how do I show this horse that screams, basically? It looks like he's screaming as he's gaping his mouth so bad. And, you know, everyone's like, oh, it's the connection, it's this. And I had all the, you know, I had some of the best trainers in the world that I got to work with, and we gave him GumBits one day, and he was kind of like, oh, well, thanks, now I have something to do with myself. And I was like, oh my gosh, 2 years we've been fighting with this like ding dong to like shut his mouth, and we gave him some GumBits, and he was kind of like, he would still, I mean, he still chews on the bit and stuff, but even now, like when I ride him, even if I don't give him the GumBits, he's a lot quieter in the mouth. It just, I think it gave him something to concentrate on rather than the trauma that he had in the past. And it would just like, and you could kind of see when you'd give it to him, he would just kind of be like, you know, he wasn't so fixated in the metal in his mouth. It was like, oh, okay. I mean, it got to the point that I was giving him like, you know, roll-ups. Like I was going psycho, and it was just, I saw it in Dover one day, and I was like, huh, what is this? Like, I was like, you know what? I've tried everything else. I don't know what this is, but we're going to give it a go. And I gave it to him, and
oh my God.
I mean, it took him a while. The first day I was like, oh, this is better. 2 or 3 weeks in, he was kind of like, he would look for them. I'd give them to him with like some sugar, and then he would just kind of like, he wasn't like chomping. He would just chew. And then it was like, and now it makes a difference for him. And I mean, I have other horses that I've given them to, and I'm like, take it or leave it. But he made me a believer that I always try it with every horse, just because, hey, if it works half as good as it worked for WISEguy, I'll take it.
I mean, no one is gonna believe that we did not talk or have this discussion. I had no idea. And okay, we're gonna change his name to GumBits so that no one will know his past history, but he could be the walking relaxation commercial.
Well, I think about you all the time
that.
because I have a dog named Gambit, and when I first got him as a puppy, Jim called him GumBits for, I don't know, a year. So now anytime he sees the dog, he's like, how's GumBits? I'm like, his name is still Gambit. It's been 4 years. His name is Gambit. Yeah. How's GumBits? I'm like,
oh my God. This has been an incredible time with you. I wanted to squeeze this in so I could get you out for next week's story because I'm so pressed for time. And I have so much more that I want to talk to you about. And I will call you because what I would love to do is I'm having a lot of fun putting these movies together. I know nothing about it. And if it cuts me off, I apologize to everybody. But I'm having so much fun. And so if you have any videos, I would love for you to send them to me. Sure. Maybe some videos of him eating the GumBits. And
I can definitely do that. I'm gonna actually ride him tomorrow, so I'll get him some updated video.
I gotta jump on a plane because we're shy points to make the equitation. And all of a sudden I got a phone call Sunday. Oh, can you come to Michigan? You got a shot. I'm like, oh my God. Anyways, so typical hunter thing. But I so enjoyed our time together. And you're the most interesting person. I will follow up with you. I want to get some videos. I want to show people what you do. And then I want to do a little something on your business and put that out there as well. How many horses do you sell or have for sale?
It really varies. We breed a lot of foals. So right now our biggest sale is actually foals. We're breeding really top horses where we're looking at genetics and we're matching them through genetics to breed these foals. And then as far as sales go, as soon as our training center is currently under construction, it should be done by the end of the year. Then I'll get back into selling FEI horses again. So right now we're just kind of, working out of the repro barn, and the covered arena and the new show barn it's getting built, and I can't wait, especially for the covered, because all the sunburn on my face is from riding out in the sun.
Well, send me lots of photos. We got a minute 33 seconds. I feel like I'm on one of those cooking commercials where it's like 10, 9, 8. Anyways,
I will send you videos and pictures.
I have some Zoom contract, and now I think I'm over the limit, and I got to upgrade. But I so enjoyed talking to you. I want videos of the no-name horse.
WISEguy.
To see Gambit, your dog. I want to see your farm. And for certain, I'm going to come out to Ocala. I'm going to meet you live. So,
yes, that would be awesome. I'll send you some videos, and we'll chat soon.
Thank you. This has been so much fun. I so appreciate it.
No problem. We'll chat soon.
Okay.